Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 20-minute podcast, your source of tech news every Tuesday. I'm your host, Fuad, joined by my co host, Rashad.
Hello, everyone.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about news from Samsung, from Xiaomi, from Steam, and other news as well. So, tech lovers, stay tuned for today's episode. So, for the first news of the day, Um, there's been a lot of Samsung S22 and 22 Ultra leaks coming out. Apparently, like almost all of the specs have been leaked out now, and even pictures have came out. There's been a lot of buzz on it. It's expected to come out either January or February of next year. So maybe we can talk about a little bit about the specs. First of all, there's a picture by Twitter user Hypark or Tipster, I'll say Hypark22. He published images of the black variant. I feel like it looks really good. It looks just smooth and flush. They're saying that apparently uh, the all three S22 models will have glass backs, where last year only the Ultra had was all glass. Yeah, we saw also like cases for the S22 and the S22 Ultra. We saw there's a new S Pen for the phone. Um, let's talk about the specs. It'll feature a 6.8-inch display, has 120 hertz variable refresh rate the screen. So um that's become the standard now. An HDR10 plus, IP68 rating for dust and water resistance. So that's great. It's very like water and dust resistant as always. Um, it'll also feature either an Exynos 2200 or Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, which are all really powerful. Also, it become the industry stable now. Um, uh, it says the device should have it features a megapixel ultra wide camera, two 10 megapixel telephoto camera, uh 40 megapixel selfie camera, and it has 5000 milliamp battery and supports 45-watt fast charging. What are your thoughts, Rashad?
I think it's really interesting seeing that there are some features that they're gonna add on, such as the pen. Of course, the camera is 120 hertz display, etc. But the most interesting thing to me is the S Pen. So I think I don't know what they're gonna do, like what Samsung's gonna do. Are they gonna continue their Note lineup, or are they gonna cancel it and just make the S22? But as the S21, the Samsung Galaxy S21, it was a great phone. A lot of people were happy with it, and even what is it called? Marquez gave it the phone of the year from XCB.
Yeah, like you said, I saw his phone awards and or smartphone awards, and I saw he gave it phone of the year, even though it released like in January of 2021. They still like it still performed really well. It stood the sound of time, or the yeah, it stood the challenge of time, and um it was received pretty well. So I'm excited to see the 22, like the S22 Ultra, especially the Ultra. Um, I wonder also how it will compare to next year's iPhone.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough choice for people who are looking for new phones and don't mind an iOS device or an Android one, because the competition is getting harder and harder for both companies. Like Samsung has in the recent years, we're pushing for a better phone. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen. And the problem is, or something that Apple is not doing now is they're not adding too much new things. Like the phones are the same; they're not changing. But I feel Samsung is putting a bit more effort in that state, not far, but a bit. And we're gonna see what's gonna happen in the future. If there's gonna be a dramatic difference between this year's model or the next year's or the other. But I think a lot of people are waiting for a big change, something really different. So yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think uh like you said, people are looking for a big change. I think I don't know. I think like the main iPhones and the main S20s will be like the flagship every year phone, but then maybe Samsung and will experiment with the folds, and iPhone will experiment with the Pro Maxes. We don't know. We just hope that it creates better competition for like the marketplace for the consumer, really. Even if you remember, the prices for the S21 were cheaper than the S20 phone. Even Marquez, like MKBHD talked about it. This year's the S21 phone was cheaper than the 20, but the rumors for the 22 is that uh the S22 and the S22 Plus will be $50 more than the one before, and the S22 Ultra will be $100 more. So I think that's to be expected since last year was cheaper. But uh, what do you think? Do you think it's a competitive price?
It's a competitive price with the iPhones, I think. Uh, but maybe they made it a bit cheaper this year because they wanted more people to buy it, to consider buying it. So now they've got a lot of people who tried it and they know that it's a good phone. So they won't mind paying $50 or $100 more. Yeah, so the phone market it's getting expensive like every year, but I don't see like there's a big difference between each year's model. Like I don't know why they're increasing the prices. Maybe because of the pandemic or something. The production it costs a lot more. Uh, but yeah, and I hope like they could consider putting down the prices for all the companies like Apple or Samsung because they're getting pretty expensive for the consumer.
Yeah, it's it's quite an expensive. Like every year, I actually thinking about it. Not everyone is upgrading every single year. So uh if you're waiting, for example, 4 or 5 years between each phone, you'll uh maybe the $150 difference won't be very drastic, um, unless you're upgrading every year. But then again, I don't know. I'm all for cheaper stuff because God knows everything's becoming a lot more expensive now. So yeah. All right. So you want to move on to the next stop?
Yeah, so now on to the next topic about Xiaomi.
All right. So moving on to Xiaomi. The Xiaomi 12 and 12 Pro have debuted at the time of recording or time of release of this episode just like a day ago. They have new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipsets, like we just mentioned, which will also be similar on the new Galaxy phones next year. It has a 50 megapixel main camera, which is great. Um, apparently the Xiaomi 12 comes with like the smallest screen since on a flagship since the Xiaomi Mi 8, which has been like a few years ago. It has um let me see, it has a 6.28 inch, and the 12 Pro has a 6.73 inch on the Xiaomi. Uh, it has a bigger battery, it has faster charging, it has a more capable camera. Xiaomi's have been really have been really competitive and have been really like creating buzz. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about it, especially on Twitter and stuff like that. Uh, they'll they also like have quite the fan base, I'll say. Okay, also looking at the screen and stuff, it has also like an AMOLED screen and a 2K like a 2K resolution, as well as also having speakers by Harman Kardon, I believe that's the name, which apparently Rashad says is is really good.
Yeah, they're really great. They're a good speaker company, or they're good speakers. They should be good.
So also the battery is a 4,600 milliamp and it splits into two cells apparently, and it charges as at 120 watt via cable and up to 50 watts wireless, which is really good. I wonder uh, how quick the phone will charge. I can look at that. Um, it apparently it's gonna retail the Xiaomi 12 Pro for $738 or something like that, or like $785, which is great. That's like comparatively to other phones, that's a lot cheaper. Yeah, it has a bunch of cool colors as well.
And there's one more model. It's the Xiaomi 12X, which is a cheaper model than the other two, which are the Xiaomi 12 and 12 Pro. The Xiaomi 12X has the same screen size as the 12, which is 6.28 inches, and the Xiaomi 12X is $502, and it's 128 gigabytes compared to the Xiaomi 12, which is more expensive. It's about 738 for the 128 gigabytes. That's for the Pro. So yeah, so it's a good price difference. So it's like the cheaper model for this series, which is great to have. It's nice when companies consider a cheaper alternative, just like the other people who need phones, like the people who are willing to pay a lot. They are even targeting people who don't want to pay lots of money on to their phones. Yeah, it looks like a really great phone, specs wise.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if it'll compete with the Google Pixel, since you said it's about $500 and the Google Pixel 6 was about 599 if I'm not mistaken. So uh it's those mid-range phones are really becoming every year. Every year there's a lot of competition for it, so I'm interested to look at that. Uh, so now let's move on, talk about Steam. All right, so in other news, um, there's been reports about Steam Global being banned in China. It's been first reported by a user called, or it's been reported by the gamer. Um, that the Chinese version of Steam is the only version available in China after they've been cracking down, for like 2 or 3 years now since 2018 on gaming and stuff over there. If you remember, they made a lot of choices to cut down on people's ability to play video games. They really, I think, like demonized it, or like uh, really like focused on it. I don't know. I don't know if they really used it as a scapegoat or what. But they set rules before, as for example, you only had 90 minutes in weekdays, and then after that, I think it was, I believe in June, they only allowed 3 hours, 3 hours a year. Sorry, 3 hours a year, 3 hours a week for gaming in total, which I feel like is really constrictive. Uh, there was there is also even a sort of a curfew. If you're a minor, you cannot legally play after 10 p.m. Which is like intense. Like it was very intense, and even the top developer in the world, Tencent, they made like a facial scan feature where they wanted to catch like Chinese kids playing past the curfew. So you would have to submit to scan your face, and they would cross check it. From what I understood, they'd cross check it with the database they have for like facial recognition, um and that's how they would determine if you're like a minor or not. And uh you could decline, but you'd be booted out of the game. So it's really mandatory anyway.
Yeah, so it's really interesting in what they're doing. Like they're so like strict on these rules and making sure that all the gamers have a limited time since they don't get addicted to the games or stuff. I think it's really interesting on the methods they're taking and on that the miners are have to like scan their face to be able to play or not or etc. And it shows the power of that they can have on how to control all this stuff and even the store, it doesn't have a lot of games compared to the Steam Global. The Chinese version has only, I think, 103 games compared to 100,000 plus games on Steam Global. So yeah, it's really interesting and yeah, and it's cool, but it's not nice being there and instead of the people not playing a lot. But yeah, it's really interesting on how they're forcing people to like play a limited time or play before 10 or etc. So it's really interesting. Yeah, I really find it interesting and nice.
I I I feel like it's a big like invasion of privacy if you have to check in every day if you want to play to like scan your face and uh like just so like I think they're called like curfew police or something, or curfew patrol or something like that. I don't know, maybe I feel like it's a bit intense, and I don't know, I feel like more and more for years it's been demonized that like video games are like they cause violence and addiction and stuff like that. I'm not sure if this feels like a bit more like very strict. Like you said, like the store even like the Steam Global has over like 110K games, and the Chinese Steam only has 103 games, and really only two mainstream games, Dota 2 and Counter Strike, CS:GO. Um, um, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I feel like it's a bit like intense. Um, maybe there would have been better ways to deal with that, but like we've seen how really the government over there operates. So I don't know if there is really anything to do uh, as a consumer.
Yeah, it is a bit strict, but I think they took this initiative when they saw maybe a lot of numbers or kids or people who play and get addicted or are violent, as you said. I think there is a reason for them to do this or to be strict. Uh, and yeah, and maybe there's not a lot of people who are like addicted to games or violent or whatever at the moment, but they see if like they could continue more and more people play for long hours, they will become one of both. So yeah, it is interesting and it's really like eye-opening on what can happen in the future, other than games, like how things are could be controlled. Like maybe social media, they could do this as well to it. Maybe later in a year or a couple of months. Like since a lot of people are addicted to social media and are really getting like insecure about their lives or themselves or don't like they see everybody's lives perfect on social media and look at their lives. So yeah, it's really interesting to see this news, and we'll see what other things are going to get involved in controlling. And maybe more countries will start doing the same as well, like doing the same things, or even more in different areas that they think are necessary. Okay, so that's all the news for today. Thank you everybody for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and follow us on the platform you're listening to us from, add us on social media, and wait for us on next Tuesday to listen to our latest podcast.
And thank you for joining us on the last episode as well for this year, and thank you for your continued support on since we started this podcast.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great day. Bye bye.